Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I got this crazy email that was sent from a subscriber. It's from a guy, he's in his mid-50s, he's been divorced for like 10 years. And years after he got divorced, he definitely got an itch to get back in the dating market, to get some, if you will. And after, dating, having friends with benefits, doing the apps and everything, he met a gal who started slow with, but eventually really hit it off with. And as it turns out, she was a woman not much younger than him, but she was 50 years old, but he was mid-50s. Very good looking, very in shape, single MOM. But she had no red flags. And they had a great time together, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to see that he thought everything was great, the stars were aligned, and then he met her kid. He met her kid, saw the dynamic with her and the kid, and let me tell you, what happens there is quite the doozy. And it goes to show you guys, avoid the single MOMs. And if you're going to get involved in one, make sure that the kids are adults, out of the house. She's no longer responsible for them in that type of way. Otherwise, you're going to get involved with a whole lot of drama and BS, because there's so many negative stereotypes about the single MOMs. And some things, a divorce happens. Maybe she had a bad husband, shitty husband, or the husband passed away, or who knows what happened, and she's raising the kids fine. But even if she's genuinely cool, has her life together, still that kid is going to get in the way and could be a giant pain in the ass. He could be jealous of you. He could be disrespectful towards you. All these things you just don't need. And even the better ones just are going to be drama with. Or they're looking for a daddy, looking for an ATM, all these things. And you got to be smart and listen to the head here, not down south. Otherwise, it can be bring a whole lot of problems in your life. And you're going to see in the story, guys, and I believe this guy's being very accurate in his description, he never saw any red flags until he saw the kid. Holy crap. So sit back. This is definitely a doozy. He says, good afternoon, SSM. This is how I completely burned my good guy card and finally became the man I am today. Me, I'm a 55-year-old man who was divorced about 10 years ago. I have 2 sons, but that's a completely different story. About 3 years ago, after my boys were grown, I decided that living in the North just wasn't for me anymore. I understand the feeling. I grew up in the South, and I just couldn't do the winter here anymore, so I moved back to my hometown on the Gulf Coast. He says, boy, was I in for it. The area wasn't what I had known as a young man. The whole coast was a huge ghetto. Church, then a liquor store, fast food, repeat. Throw in some casinos to take everyone's money. Then, well, why'd you move there? Did you not go there and check it out beforehand? When I moved to Florida, I made sure I came to see the area I wanted to before I started the house hunting process. Then I knew where I wanted to go. It sounds like you went there sight unseen. I decided that for the time being that I would just concentrate on myself and figure out what the next step would be in my life. After about a year, I was still on zero but chugging along. About this time, my lower brain started telling me that it was time to meet someone, so I jumped on the apps and in no time had a couple of friends with benefits running around. It was okay, but I've always been a relationship type of guy and missed the little things, but none of these women were more than a stress relief. So after years of marriage, you're here on the dating apps in your 50s in today's Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world. Well, this story will reveal the wackos out there. Now, I was not a simp at all. If I had to qualify it, I would say that I was purple pill. I would treat them like princesses, but would walk away at the first signs of any drama and BS. Well, that usually happens to guys when they start treating them like princesses. The drama and BS will follow because their interpretation is like, oh, this guy, he's really into me. I don't have to treat him the same anymore because I'm now getting the gifts and the princess treatment. About this time, a woman from 200 miles away slid in. I figured, why not? 200 miles away? Maybe some nudes or whatever. At first, I didn't pay her much attention, and you know how that goes. Slowly, over the next few months, we started texting and talking more often. I know it sounds stupid, but I really liked the good mornings on my way to work. Well, you were lonely. You said you're a relationship type of guy. But if you're going to do relationships, you got to make sure she's earned it and isn't mentally, I was still fooling around with one, a friends with benefits, but that usually was a quick tap after work, and the good mornings had an effect on me. I'd been married for 17 years and 20 years together total, and I really liked being married before it went bad, so the familiarity and companionship was nice. He says, I know, smack. Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to smack you for enjoying the good things, the positive aspects of relationships. I'm going to smack you for missing those to make you make poor decisions with the wrong people. That's what I'll smack you for. She was into music and would send me songs. Not that pop radio shit, but great music. We talked about everything from physics to spirituality. Physics? I've never dated a woman who I just sat around and discussed physics with, but okay. Something my ex and I used to do. On the few times we did skirt around SCX, I got the impression that she was a freak in the sheets and a lady in the streets. All cylinders firing so far. No nudes, which is unusual nowadays. I can start a website with all the PORN women had sent me since my divorce. You wouldn't believe the amount of pictures I've gotten over the years, guys, and not requesting them. And also, guys, I might as well say 4% of my audience are women here. And you wouldn't believe some of the pictures the 4% of my audience has sent me over the years on this channel. Yeah, no joke. And no, I'm not involved with anybody that I've met who reached out to me through this channel. No. Anyhow, I decided it was time for us to meet and plan a weekend with her about halfway between. He goes, smack, that one is what comes next. Well, we met at the restaurant for the first time in person. It wasn't like I was going in all puppy dog. I was a dark red purple and came in with my A game. But something in me cracked when she grabbed me into a hug. She fit perfectly up against me and she smelled so good. She was prettier than her picture and was in a flowered sundress. Maybe not a traditional 10, but a sweet southern gal next door, just my type. Well, 9s and 10s are not relationship material. Not nowadays. No. 6s and 7s and an 8 on her better behavior can be the relationship material. You can keep the Victoria's Secret and give me a white and cotton t-shirt and no panties on a librarian. The weekend went very well. She showed me around the beach town and we just had a really good time, good easy time together. When I say I drove home in a daze and what ifs and maybe running around between my ears is an understatement. It's amazing how men can meet a gal and they get so mesmerized by her beauty and her charm and immediately they're thinking wedding bells and the kids and all this other shit. I mean, it's amazing to me. But I wasn't lost yet. The last few years have really shown me a few things I didn't go down quietly. I didn't let on my mixed emotions and kept things the way they had been. Yep, you know it. The next morning and evening texts became more and more intimate, not just sexual, intimate and prolonged. She called me at lunch just to say hi and check in on me. So you're a relationship guy. You're a purple pill guy, as the term is, that you have the RP knowledge, or so you think. But you do like relationships and you apply the RP knowledge to the relationships. But it doesn't mean that you can't be RP'd and get roped in by some gal that really hits all the buttons in the right way. And of course, let's be honest, you were kind of lonely. And that's where guys fuck up, when they get lonely and they let shit slide. I talked about music with her before, so you need to. I talked about music before, so you need to understand. I'm a music nut. Rock, punk, country, bluegrass, rap, techno. I'm into it all. Well, no rap for me, man, or techno. I like metal and metal and metal. Well, I like rock. I do have a big thing for 80s music. I like a lot of 50s rock. Really like Johnny Cash. But no rap or techno for me, no thanks. About a week and a half after our trip, I woke up to what is the modern day equivalent of a mixtape. She curated a 38-song playlist of some really amazing music, and I was impressed. Now for her information. Okay, here we go. We will call her Betty. A single MOM, smack, 50 years old with a 12-year-old son. 38 years old, she had the kid. About 5'5" to 5'8", brunette with blue eyes, ample breasts, and nice ass. Held together very well for a 50-year-old. Hey, you know what? I have seen some chicks in their 50 years old that work very hard at the gym. They lift weights so they can keep their legs and ass in good shape. They take care of themselves. They go to the salon with the nails, the hair, all that stuff. They look great for 50 years old. But let's not forget, they're 50 years old. So let's not get too carried away here. But you're in your mid-50s, so I get that type of thing. I've seen gals in their 40s that take care of themselves look better than girls in their fucking 20s. But still. She worked as a glorified receptionist and made okay money. She owned her car. She paid cash for an older model. She did have a roommate, but it was her oldest friend since childhood, and they both worked together to take care of her autistic son. Well, that tells me something. She isn't as well off as you think, as she has to have a roommate at 50 years old. Now, I know times are tough, guys, and I know that rents and cost of living is expensive, but still, at 50 years old, you think she'd be better off place. There's just little things you got to look at here. That wasn't a problem with me, as my youngest son is also autistic, and having raised him, so I knew what that was about. We both agreed that I wouldn't meet him until things progressed significantly between us, which I was cool about and made me that much more at ease with her. Me thinking that she wasn't trying to find him a daddy. Oh, bullshit. Or maybe she's not letting you see the son on purpose, as you guys are about to find out. So we had every other weekend to do the couple thing, and she still made a lot of time for me when she did have him. Well, remember, you guys are like, what, 2 hours? Was it 2 hours away or 200 miles away? Whatever. About a month later, I traveled to her hometown for the weekend, and she met me at a hotel door in a white t-shirt. It was over. We had Uber Eats all weekend. Then over the next 6 months, either I would go to her hometown or we'd meet back at the beach on our weekends. I stopped all my hoeing around and just saw her. Well, you know what? I'm glad you're taking your fucking time. You didn't meet her that one time and it was all amazing and blah, 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 and you agreed to an exclusive relationship. You're taking your time with her, so that's good. But you're going to see, guys, why one takes a lot of time. And even then, surprises can creep up on you. At the end of June, I lost my job at the National Auto Parts store and fell into a funk. It was a shitty job, but I liked working with the people who came in. I was able to help them fix their problems, not a lot of pay, but rewarding. So I was just sitting there in the place I really didn't want to be in, with very little employment and not a whole bunch in the bank to get by on. I didn't tell her immediately about losing my job, but when I wasn't going to make our weekend, I had to tell her. She said she had known something was off, but trusted that I knew what I was doing. Well, that's actually good. Okay, she's trusting you as a man to figure out the situation and turn shit around. That's good. A few days later, I was driving back from an interview when she called me. It was a god-awful graveyard shift security officer at a casino, but there wasn't a lot of choices around. Just the thought of working this job was like a ton on my shoulders. I don't drink or gamble, and I'm a morning person, so great. But a man does what he has to do, right? Yes, you do what you have to do, man. You got to pay the bills. And that's a good lesson for your sons. You know, you may not like the job, but you got to pay the fucking bills, and you're not going to have somebody else pay for you. And you can always get something better while you're doing this job to pay the bills. Towards the end of our conversation, she joked that I should just move there. That wasn't a joke. I really do think I was just a offhand comment, but after we got off the phone, my mind was racing. I mean, why not? I had nothing and no one holding me here, and I really wanted to be there. I was going to be doing the same thing as I had been doing before, but I'd be out of that state and closer to her. There was a bigger town only 30 minutes from her small town, and it was much cleaner with better job prospects. I didn't bring it up to her and just thought about the idea. The next trip to visit her, I asked her to take me around to the local nurseries and botanical gardens. I have a background in nurseries and a BS in plant and soil science, so I had a game plan. As we walked around, I would tell her about the plants and got excited about the things that we just didn't have back up north. The last nursery we visited was a wonderful place. Think old growth landscape and a hippie feel. I told her I needed to use the bathroom and walked into the gift shop and asked about a job. The person I walked up to turned out to be the owner, a really cool kind of guy, and by the time I walked out, 5 minutes later, I basically had a job. Wow. All right. Take the bull by the horns. Later that night after dinner and adult games, we were laying around, and I brought up the idea. There was no hesitation in her response. It was a resounding yes. Then some more very enthusiastic SCX. Well, she'd probably give you especially extra loving that night. Less than a week later, I found a rent by the week room at a nicer motel until I could save for my own place. and was moving. Things went smoothly for the next few weeks. I was assigned a job not with the plants, but installing and serving irrigation systems. That was great with me, as I'm always looking to learn new skills. Well, I now appreciate gardening and landscaping and irrigation systems more than ever before. My house that I purchased last summer, guys, the former owner, was an amazing landscaper. He made the place look phenomenal. And I upgraded the irrigation system, and I take great pride in the landscaping in the front of the house, in the courtyard area, back in the pool area, backyard. It's amazing. And so I'm starting to learn this shit too. It's pretty cool. It's very relaxing going outside before we get to the Florida summer and it's hotter than the devil's dick out here. And being outside and watering the plants and chilling. I love it. Now I'm going off track here. She'd come by after work and perform miracles on a hot plate and microwave. Unexpected oral became a thing, and she would take my laundry home and bring me back fresh folded clothes. I was in heaven. Well, man, I can't say this is a bad situation. Really. But you haven't met her kid yet. That's the little thing here. After a bit, she decided it was time to meet her son and the doom of my happiness. As I said, I have an autistic son, so I reassured her that it was all going to be fine. We decided that she would talk with him, and we'd all meet up at a pizza place the following weekend. I really hadn't ever thought about raising another child, but I felt I could do good for him and help her out. I was never getting married again, and she knew that, but I was open to being with someone long term. Well, my friend, you know all about the single MOMs and the stereotype about them. Now, this girl, as you all can hear this story, according to him, seems pretty cool, right? But you haven't met her kid yet. And these kids can be fucking nightmares. Which, again, is why you don't get involved with the single MOMs, even if they're very cool, because you're going to be dealing with that little asshole all the time. When the boy walked in with her, I immediately had a bad feeling. Something was off. If you ever known a child with autism, there are certain qualities that children with autism have. He had none of them. Then he opened his mouth and started being an asshole, and I knew. But... he says, okay, slap. I should have walked out right there. Dude, you were totally enamored with this woman. There was no way you were going to walk out because some kid was being a little fucking asshat. There's no way. As the evening wore on, it became more and more obvious that the child wasn't a special needs child, just a raving brat with anger issues. After I got back home and they left, I had a very serious sit down and think about the situation. I decided that it would be okay. I could still be with Betty, we just wouldn't be moving in together, and I would keep the boy at arm's length. Yeah, good luck there, dude. The more she knows you're into her, the more she's going to start laying out demands like, we move in together or that's it, and you would cave. Everything was so great, and the boy spent half the time with his father. I could make it work. So the very next weekend, Betty's roommate would be out of the town, and she wanted me to stay, and we could play family. I was leery, but charged on. The shit the boy pulled made me want to smack him. Well, he should have. Then I started to notice very strange little interactions between Betty and the monster. Interactions? What could you possibly mean? For instance, he ran by and smacked her ass and jumped onto the couch. He's smacking his mama's ass. He's 12 years old. She went over to him, leaned in close, and began a whispered conversation. It sounded like she was chewing him a new one, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. Then I watched as he reached up and grabbed her breast and squeezed. What the fuck, kid? She took way too long to knock his hand away. She just went on scolding him, or so I thought. How's this kid at school with the girls? Really? After he went to bed that night, I brought it up with her, and she explained that it was something that he did to try and get at her. That she couldn't be too forceful with him, or he just acted out worse. Bullshit. You smack that little motherfucker upside the head, he grabs your ass or breast or disrespects you. What are you teaching him? He can get away with anything. It was part of his autism. Over the next day, I saw him being inappropriate with her on several occasions, and she was right. Every time she got really onto him, he just got worse. Let me tell you something. I've never seen a boy stop bullshit so quickly as being terrified of a guy laying into him. Let me tell you. Boys don't have the same fear of a mother they do a father. Well, most of the time. With the mother, it could be a wacko mother, and it's much more sinister. But with no boys are afraid of that getting the belt or having the dad, I went home that night and all the alarms blaring and several doubts, but like an idiot, I didn't run. Smack! That's why she had you wait so long to meet her son so you can get totally into her. That's why she was giving you oral after her microwave dinners for you, because she knew she had to rope you in with this little demon. I didn't see him for a couple weeks after that. She came to me and I wasn't even around him. The sex and food and care lured me back over that time period. Of course. The last weekend she and I were together really effed me up for a minute. She had convinced me to have one more try spending the night at her house. As soon as I got there, things automatically started popping off. He was just being a rude little fuck to her and I. We powered through his dinner and ended up in the living room watching TV. I was sitting in a chair and they were on the couch next to me. He had his hand on her lap and I watched as he rolled his head over and pushed his face into her crotch and made munching sounds. What the fuck? Bear in mind, she's allowing this with her little whisper moments to him. She pushed him off and another whispered conversation was had. Dude, why weren't you running out of there? Oh, because she can suck a mean dick? Is that why? She pushed him off and it whispered again. Sure enough, the little brat began grabbing her boobs and laughing at her supposed discomfort. I never wanted to punch a kid so much in my life. Punch, try drop kick. It was getting towards midnight and I had to put in a 12-hour day after getting up at 4 a.m., so I wasn't in shape to drive the 30 minutes back to my place. I just left the room and went out to smoke on the porch. I had been out there about 45 minutes when she came out to tell me he was in bed. I told her that stuff wasn't going to fly with me and she really needed to get the child some serious help. She made excuses how he was just acting out and she was working on it. Working on it? He's 12 years old. Clearly been working on it for years and doing a bang-up job. Doing a piss-poor job, man. I told her that doing stuff like that to his mother was horrible enough. What about the girls he was around at school? He ended up on the registry for acting like that with little girls in the neighborhood. She just brushed it off and said she'd take care of it. Yeah. What's the deal with his father, right? I said right then and there that she'll be taking care of it without me in the picture. But like I said, it had been almost a 22-hour day by then. I just wanted to go to sleep. I took my sleeping medication and passed out without even a goodnight kiss. The next morning, I wake up and all the previous night came rushing back to me. My medication makes me groggy, so I sat there, clearing my head, and she came up with a cup of coffee for me, all smiles and cheer. So I got up, got dressed, and head outside to smoke some cigarettes. As I was coming out of her room, the boy came barreling past me into his mom's room, wearing only his tighty whities. I just let him pass and head on out. When I got out to the porch, I was about to sit down when I realized my smokes from my backpack still in the room. I stood there a moment before deciding that I really wanted my smokes and turned back to go in. As I'm walking down the hall, I hear another whispered conversation going on in her room. I stopped for a second and braced myself. Then I heard giggles and the sound of raspberries. My brain froze. As I turned the corner into the room, I see him laying back on the bed in his underwear with her blowing raspberries on his stomach like you would a baby. What the fuck? Can you say enabling his behavior, not letting this kid grow up, amongst many other things here? Now it's time for my body to freeze. I just stood there a second and took it all in. As I watch, he grabs her by the head and tries to force her head down. You guys can figure this out. What the fuck, dude? This amazing girl, this amazing woman, 6 months. Oh, she's amazing. The future with her, blah, blah, blah. Now you know why you didn't meet her goddamn kid. She just kind of struggled a tiny bit, so he grabs again and tried again. She responded by cupping one of his hands against her ear and giggling towards him. And get this, she says, "Not now, baby. James is here," very playfully. Ugh. Clearly, she has a lot to do with this whole fucked up situation too, huh? This kid needs to be, well, let's just say the government needs to be involved at this point. He says, this is where I went completely art pill. I said, what the fuck? That's what I've been saying. I watched the shock and fear in her face as I slid past them to grab my backpack. I turned around and walked out. Got in my car and was gone in under 2 minutes. Not a word. Nothing for her. I shut down any feelings I had for her and we were strangers again before I left the driveway. My phone was in my backpack, which I had thrown in the back seat, and was blowing up before I even made it to the stop sign. By the time I got back, I had over 30 voicemails and at least as many texts. 30 voicemails. I deleted all the voicemails without listening, but I saw bits and pieces of the text. Some of the bits and pieces were, I didn't see what I thought I'd seen. It was all a misunderstanding. I just called a friend I work with and put my phone on airplane mode. I went over to his place, bought some green, then a liquor store, and a 6-pack of 9.5 IPA. Yeah, I would need some alcohol after all that. I proceeded to get smashed for the first time in 10 years. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink because I hate the effects both during and after, but boy did I get plowed. I fell asleep sometime and was out there until there was banging on my door. He says, yep, there she was pulling a Tusken Raider. For those of you guys don't know what I mean by the Tusken Raider, I mean Star Wars and those indigenous creatures that were like making noises like that. I make fun of women when they cry like Tusken Raiders. That's what they fucking sound like. The whining and blubbering. And go watch Star Wars if you haven't already. Although I can't picture anybody who hasn't watched fucking Star Wars, the original trilogy. Everything else is dog shit, except for Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. You can watch Rogue One and Revenge of the Sith, but the rest is dog shit. I see the Tusken Raiders. She was pulling a Tusken Raider. I walked out, closing the door behind me, and just looked at her stone-faced. After a few minutes of blubbering, she said something like, if we're going to work this out, I had to talk with her. She loved me. Why wasn't I talking to her? I don't know, because your son's crazy, and guess what? You're crazy too, because you allow this shit, you enable his behavior, and you play along with this, and Child Protective Services should be called at this point. Something like that. Quietly and calmly, I told her that we had been done since I walked out of her house. We were not getting back together, that she should probably just leave. Then turned around and walked back in, closing her out. Finally, the crying stopped, and I looked out to see her sitting in her car in full Tusken Raider mode on her phone. I just left it there and laid back down. Eventually, I fell asleep. Don't know when she left. This was on a Saturday night. Sunday morning, I wake up to notifications that my voicemail was full and God knows how many texts. I deleted everything and blocked her and everything. Good for you, bro. Some guys would have caved to this. I figured she might decide to show up again, so I got out of there and went to sit in a parking lot and figure out what's next for me. When I got back to the hotel, my key card didn't work, so I went to the desk to get it all straightened out. I was informed that the police had come to talk with me. Oh my God. As you say that, I hear sirens. That didn't work for the manager and owner, and I was invited to leave. My occupancy was terminated immediately. He would let me in to get my stuff, but I had to go. Well, what the heck did you do? I love the sirens come right when I freaking hear them. As I talk about the cops coming for you. After there, I left, and I was really panicking. What the hell did the police want? So I Googled the local cop shop and figured it would be better to be proactive. At the station, they knew who I was almost immediately. They took me to a cinder block room, and after sitting there for over half an hour, finally a cop came in and informed me that Betty had made a complaint against me. She made a complaint against you? Not that I had been violent with her or anything like that, just that I had threatened her, and she was so scared. They'd come into my room to get my side of the story and warn me off. I wouldn't be talking to the cops or letting them take statements without a lawyer present. She made a complaint about you, really? I very calmly and thoroughly went over the last couple of visits to her house and all that I had seen. Something in what I told them must have been in accordance with what she had said, because I could see it the moment it clicked with them. I was told to wait and left alone again. I'm not sure how long I was there, but by the time I left, it was nighttime. Sometime that evening, 2 officers came back into the room and had me write out everything I'd seen and told them. I never found out what became of it, but I was released to go. I checked into a motel for the night thinking I'd take care of business after work the next day. Holy freaking crap. But it wasn't to be. When I showed up to work that morning, my time card wasn't in a slot, and the manager asked me to wait and talk with him. After all the crews headed out, he pulled me into his office and told me I was fired. Oh my God. It seems that his wife, the gift shop manager, had received a call that morning from Betty, and she had told her that I had been rough with her. I tried to talk with him and asked him if it had happened, why I hadn't been arrested. But now his wife didn't feel safe around me, so I wasn't going to be working there anymore. I waited as the office manager pulled my hours and wrote me a check, and that was that. You did nothing. 6 months you're with this broad and you had a great thing going. You met her crazy son and saw the crazy dynamic. And guess what? At the end of the day, she's the mother. She's enabling his behavior and all that type of thing. And there's a lot more going on there with that kid than, and you abandon her and you're done with her and she makes all these things up, gets the cops after you, make you lose your job. Now maybe this is a blessing in disguise so you can get out of Dodge, but really? I left that hour and moved a state away. Only about an hour, but far enough, I slept in my car and spent the next couple of days finding work. So here I am. I worked my way out of my car into a shitty apartment. That's about the time I found your channel. I only have a few things I owned before. Just the two things I bought are a mattress and a lamp. By June, I will have a nest egg, and I'm headed back home to STL. If I never come south of the Mason-Dixon border, it will be too soon. Well, bro, it depends where you go south of the Mason-Dixon border. But like I said before, I'm cured of any thoughts that females can and should be trusted. The long game this female played with the lies and nastiness is beyond my mind capable to understand. When I say she was about my perfect mate, it was something I totally believed. She played a nearly perfect game. Now is my time. From now on, they're just play pretties for fun with hard boundaries and absolute no give a fuck. I'll never let myself get hoodwinked like this again. At any sign of BS, I'm just vanishing and they can figure it out. That's it. Thank you for the good work you do. I've turned my 19-year-old son onto you, and he has his buddies at college watching you as well. He's 6'1", blonde, handsome, and graduated top of his class. With mine and your help, he'll make it through these years without any scars and burden-free. Well, I certainly hope so. But bro, holy crap. So this goes to show you guys why I say all the time, don't get involved with the single MOMs. And if you have to do it, make sure you meet the kids early on to see they're not these freaking hell spawns. But again, the kid is nuts, but he's also a child. So there's, what the mother allows to happen, what the mother has going on, and there's way more going on behind the scenes. I don't care what anybody fucking says there. But 6 months you wasted with this broad, all for this to happen. And you get the cops after you because of what she said, and you lose your job because of it. And obviously you're in a small town environment and people talk. Oh my God. Well, anyhow, you learned a lot, and I wish you the best. But I know you're rebuilding, but just work hard, keep your mind sharp, stay to your grind. You'll get a nest egg saved up, and you're going to be all right. But just really do your homework on the people you get involved with, if you get involved with people anymore. And the first signs of red flags, get out of there. And for God's sakes, avoid the single MOMs. The only way you can get involved with a single MOM is if her children, because you're 55 years old, if you got involved with another woman who's, say, 50 years old, because that's probably would be common for you, if she has children, they're grown-ass adults. They're in their 20s and up, married, out of the house, and that's something different. Even then, I'd be skeptical. But anyhow, bro, quite the story there. Just, again, to warn the guys to watch out for the single MOM. So I wish you well. Take it one day at a time. You're going to be okay. And use what you've learned in this channel to help yourself out. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.